Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, I wanted to have a chat about stargazing because before Phraesto came into the mix, I made my video and I made a video in like the second week of the game saying I'm not stargazing on anything or exchanging anything from the guild shop for Celestial Hypergenes until we see the next hero. The next hero was Phraesto. My idea was, okay, I'm gonna pull one copy of him to test him for content's sake. If I didn't make content, I would not have pulled that one copy. I would have seen other people test him, gone, okay, he's not really as beneficial as one copy of something like Reinier. I'm going to skip him and keep saving my resources because at the end of the day, I made my other video talking about you don't want to fall for shiny object syndrome and just keep going for the next character, the next character, the next character. Unfortunately, being a content creator, even on my free-to-play account, I am going to continually summon one copy of every Celestial Hypergene to test them. That's just the way it is. But besides that, I am not summoning. I am not going to go for Phraesto. I don't think he is worth the investment for me. And I am not going to go for Reinier yet. And I want to talk about why that is. Because if you look at my account, I've already got 2 copies of Reinier, which means I need 6 more to get him to Mythic Plus. I can buy almost 4. Like pretty soon I'll be up to buying 4 copies. Once I get another 14,000 guild points, which means then I only need 2 more copies. And if we go over here into the Noble Tavern and we check here, I've got 31 of these, 9 more, and then I can pity myself 7 copies of Reinier and have him 1 copy away from Mythic Plus. However, I'm not going to do that. And yes, if you are going for Reinier and you're summoning for copies, I don't think that's a bad idea. He is a fantastic unit. Once he gets to Mythic Plus, he is amazing and he is meta in just about every boss. So why not pick the guy up? It's perfectly fine. But for me personally, I am not going to do that. I'm going to continue to save and summon for neither Reinier nor Phraesto and nor Scarlita, because I know some people are going the Scarlita path at the moment. The reason being, we had Phraesto, who was our first new Celestial Hypergene. I want to gauge how long they space between the next Celestial Hypergene. I made a whole video talking about this thing over here, which is their promotion for Reinier, and they have this former rival Taylene. You can go watch that video if you want to know more about Taylene, but Taylene is an amazing Celestial in AFK Arena. She's fallen off now, but when she released, she was insane. She heals allies when she loses health. She comes back to life when she dies. She's just an absolutely amazing unit. Over in that game, she also dealt massive damage if you invested it to her. However, at 1 copy, she was also good. So I am going to save. I don't know if she's going to be the next hero. Regardless, I am saving to see what the next one is. And you might say Vulcan, but you're hurting your progression now. At the end of the day, when I go to bossing over here and I look at my Dream Realm, I normally finish, like, let's go to the rankings so we can get an idea of where I've been finishing. We finished 58, we finished 52, we finished 54. So I'm pretty much firmly sitting in that spot. Maybe I could go up to like finishing in the top 40 or like the top 50, which would give me an extra one of the gold ones, and that's pretty much it. Which, yes, would be nice, and if we're looking at 2 months, that's an extra 60 of the gold ones, if I can push myself into there. I'm trying to push myself into there without the Reinier, but I don't think the Reinier copy, the Reinier extra copies, is really going to change my wealth. Yes, he can be teched into PvP for that usage. He's also great in PvP at 1 copy. And yes, he can be used in some campaign teams. But he can also be used in a lot of those teams at 1 copy as well. So this is why, for me personally, I don't see the payoff of me going all in on Reinier being too beneficial right now. The other thing is, when we look to the characters that they have released into the game, we have Vala, Floribel, Elsa, now Soren, and then obviously we got Phraesto. Now Phraesto, don't get me wrong, I still think that guy's going to be a beast at Supreme Plus, which leads me into a whole nother topic that I want to talk about, which is Supreme Plus viability versus Mythic Plus viability. But all the other characters they've released so far have been kind of like non-hype heroes. Phraesto was like their first Celestial Hypergene. Guy's not overly hype. I don't think too many people are going nuts on him because a lot of people have been going for Reinier and stuff like that. I feel like we are due for some good heroes. Now, once again, I am saving for that next Celestial Hypergene because I really do, when I summon for a Celestial Hypergene, I want it to be massively impactful on my account. Like I said, Reinier might get me an extra, not title essence, whatever the gold essence are called for our exclusive equipment, might give me an extra one of those per day because it would bump me into the top 50 in my rankings, and that would be great. But besides that, I don't think he's really impacting my account too much. Honestly, for me personally, I think Scarlita would have a bigger impact on my account right now if I went for her. However, I have 0 copies of her and I have 2 copies of Reinier. But what I mentioned before was with the Supreme Plus versus Mythic Plus viability, which is what we learnt with old mate over here, Phraesto. So if we look at Phraesto, because he's a tank, he really wants this Supreme Plus. The reason being is, as a tank, he wants the extra stats. Then he also gets a beefy ass shield to help you at the start of battle, which is where a lot of the heat comes in these battles. So he's one of those ones where I was basing everything off of, okay, with the Celestials and Hypergenes, when I get them, all I need to do is guarantee myself Mythic Plus, and then I'm going to be really set up. But this guy has sort of changed my mindset now of being, okay, Mythic Plus for a support that unlocks their key functionality at that Mythic Plus, i.e. Reinier. He gets the damage boost on the enemy at Mythic Plus, and he's a support unit. He's not in the front lines. His damage doesn't matter. So that Mythic Plus for Reinier makes sense because it gives him his functionality. The stats don't matter as much because he's not dealing damage. He's not absorbing damage. He's just there for his support, and that support unlocks at Mythic Plus. However, when I look to the rest of these heroes, now I'm thinking more about the idea of, instead of aiming for Mythic Plus, maybe with the next Celestial Hypergene that I get, I should aim for Supreme Plus. Because once again, with this guy, we've seen that Supreme Plus is where he gets his core functionality. And if it's a damage dealing unit or a unit that's meant to take damage, tank like he is, without some key support, if it's a control unit or something like that, it's a different case. But if we are looking at getting a damage dealing Celestial Hypergene or a tanking Celestial Hypergene, then stats become such a super important thing. And because the game gave us so many summons early, you can see on my free-to-play account, like, we're pretty stacked. We got a lot of units to Mythic Plus, Supreme, Supreme Plus. So my account is getting to that point where for something to slot into my account, it needs heavy investment. And that's why now I'm thinking, when I look to Celestial Hypergenes, if they make a good DPS, and once again, we got Scarlita, who's already good, but I'm also the one who likes the shiny new toy, and I want to beef up that shiny new toy, so I want to save and like max out the shiny new toy when it eventually comes. Which once again, hopefully it's Taylene, but we'll have to see who they drop next. But I'm going to save because I want that viability from them. And whilst, yes, Reinier is great, I also think that if Celestial Hypergenes are like meant to be that tier above our standard heroes, then if we get a non-supportive one like Reinier, like you look at Scarlita, she is the prime damage dealer in the game at the moment. If you look to Dionel, he is like a prime damage dealer in PvP. So those damaging units, if you can get them high enough investment, sort of outscale the rest of the stuff we have is like the general concept of it. And that's why I am saving. I am not going for Reinier. I am not going for Phraesto. I'm going to save for the next one, because the other big unknown, like I mentioned at the start of this video, is what is the spacing they are going to have between each Celestial or Hypergene release. I would guess 3-ish months, but I'm not willing to bank on that. That's why I'm definitely not summoning, because for all we know, they could go 2 months. Okay, here's another Celestial Hypergene. I'm not too sure. We haven't been in the game long enough, and they haven't given us a roadmap to know their plans on hero releases. It's looking like we get a new radar banner every 3 weeks, but obviously they've just shown with Phraesto that they'll throw in a Celestial Hypergene in between those. So I'm super curious to see where it goes. I'm basically, my account is in like a bricked saving mode. Luckily, I pulled an extra copy of What's Her Face of Carolina, because that gives me another team that I can use. But in general, I am bricked, just saving everything I have. I'm saving my diamonds. I am saving my basically Celestial Hypergene resources, being the guild coins and the Stargazers, because like I said, I want to go completely all in on a hero when we see a really good one. And once again, if they released the next Celestial Hypergene and it's still nothing that I think is worth putting my summons into, well then I'm just going to continue the hoarding process. Maybe if I get enough to where I'm like, okay, I can pity a Reinier and I can pity Supreme Plus on a new Celestial Hypergene when they come, maybe then I'll do the Reinier to Mythic Plus. But besides that, I've made the decision. I am personally saving indefinitely on the Celestial Hypergenes until we get one that's like a game-changing damage dealer or tank that really wants the Supreme Plus. So as my free-to-play account, I can get that power boost over maybe even light spenders who maybe spent on something previously and don't have the money to put into getting the new thing. And that's where I think stalling your account with the saving as a free-to-play player in these type of games, obviously we have levels, and levels are an issue because you get outscaled. But especially when we look to normal arena where it's pretty much evened out on the levels, by saving and then going all in on like a couple new units as they come out, especially if they're a new level of power, that is how you start to compete. And that is what I'm looking at doing. Once again, if you are going for the Reinier, get him to Mythic Plus. I don't think it's a horrible idea. If you've already invested into Scarlita and you're going for her, I don't think it's a bad idea. But once again, because I am so uninvested into Celestials and Hypergeans, I'm going to continue that path. Hopefully we get a Tailene or something else cool as the next Celestial Hypergen, and hopefully by that stage as well, I've saved up enough Guild Store coins, I've saved up enough Stargazer summons that I can go ahead and I can go real deep on that hero and maybe even get him to Supreme Plus and then feel really OP about it. But anyway, guys, that is my ramble for today. Let me know what you guys are doing with the Stargazer. I'm really curious on this one. I don't think there is a right answer because there's too many unknowns, but that is my play. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.